Okay, let's get into this. Today, we are diving deep into, well, something pretty massive. It's
Right.
a substantial, like, 90,000 word exploration of Tom Cruise. His
Gotcha.
life, his career, the whole
It's a
thing.
lot of material, yeah.
Definitely. So, we've combed through this extensive account, and our mission here is really to pull out the key findings, the stuff that jumps out.
Really fascinating bits.
Exactly, to try and understand what makes him such a, well, unique figure in Hollywood.
hmm
Often debated, too.
And we're sticking strictly to what this particular source presents, right? That's the goal.
Precisely.
Right.
Based only on this material, think of it like peeling back the layers,
Yeah.
using this detailed account as our guide.
Looking for those sort of surprising insights or the core drivers that this source really highlights about him.
Yeah, and we're starting right where the source does, his early life, how he got into Hollywood in the first place.
Okay, so the foundations. Thomas Cruise, Mopathan IV, born 1962.
Right.
And this account, it details a childhood with a lot of moving around, frequent moves, and it also describes a difficult relationship with his father. Calls him abusive.
So a pretty challenging start, it sounds like, based on this. And interestingly, the biography mentions something else. He considered becoming a priest.
Yeah, briefly. A very different path he almost took, according to this account.
Quite a shift from that to, well, Hollywood stardom.
Huge shift. And the material really pinpoints the moment things took off. Risky business.
Ah, yes, the scene.
The sliding in socks, you know the one.
Everyone does. This account basically says that scene just catapulted him. Not a slow climb, like an explosion onto the scene.
Total explosion. But the source is also careful to say it wasn't just luck. It wasn't just being in the right movie at the right time.
Okay, so what else?
It describes this intense dedication he had right from the beginning, almost an obsession with the craft.
How so?
Like really studying scripts, getting deep into the stunt work even then, and, consciously developing that running style.
Huh, the run. You can't miss it.
Right. This biography even, like, humorously points out how much he runs in his movies, says it's part of that deliberate commitment, his image, his performance.
Okay, so intense focus from day one. Now, the source moves into a really major area, something it calls the elephant in the room.
Scientology.
Yeah. Described here as a truly defining part of his life.
It takes up a big chunk of the account, for sure. And it doesn't shy away from specifics, like that Matt Lauer interview in 2005.
Oh, yeah, the "you're glib, Matt" moment. How does the source frame that?
It uses pretty strong language, actually. Characterizes it as peak unhinged, Tom. That's a direct quote from the material we read.
Wow, okay, so it acknowledges the controversies.
Definitely. And it notes that despite all the scrutiny, all the public debate over the years about his involvement, he's apparently never backed down, always defended the church publicly.
And does the source offer different viewpoints on its role in his life?
It does. It mentions how some people view it very critically, using words like cult.
Mm-hmm.
But then it also presents the idea, found within its research, that for others, maybe even for him, it's seen as a kind of lifeline, an essential support.
So it lays out those differing perspectives.
Exactly. But the one thing this exploration makes crystal clear is his own belief. According to this material, Tom Cruise deeply believes in his devotion to Scientology. That comes across strongly.
And how does it connect this to his career?
Well, the source explores Scientology's apparent influence on his choices, his path. But it's careful, It presents the information it gathered, how the source describes that influence. It's not making a judgment on the religion itself, just relaying what this biography says.
Got it. Reporting what the source contains. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Something else that absolutely defines him, especially now. The stunts.
Oh, yeah. This is where the account gives you a real highlight reel. His physical commitment.
It really emphasizes that he prefers practical stunts, right? Doing it for real.
Big time. Over CGI, over using stunt doubles whenever possible. He wants the real deal.
And the examples in the source are just wild. Climbing the Burj Khalifa.
Insane.
Hanging off that plane during takeoff.
Yeah.
That halo jump in Mission Impossible Fallout. The source doesn't just list them. It gets into the risk, the difficulty.
And what this account really flags is his age. While doing this stuff, he's 61, it says.
Yeah.
And he's doing things the biography claims would push a young Navy SEAL to their limits.
It's hard to wrap your head around, honestly, that level of physicality. Does the source say why he does it?
It frames it as being for the audience. A belief in the, quote, magic of cinema. That's the phrase used.
The magic of cinema.
Yeah. And it describes him as just intensely committed, all caps in the source, to giving people that authentic thrill.
There's that story about his ankle, too, right, in Fallout.
Oh, yeah, the biography details that.
Yeah.
He breaks his ankle doing a jump between buildings, a serious break.
Oh.
And the account says he insisted on finishing the take, dragging himself up to get out of frame. The material calls it warrior mentality. Again, their words. Just shows the extreme level of dedication described.
Okay, so that's the professional intensity. What about his personal life? The biography goes there, too.
It does. And it notes, well, it's been complicated and very public.
3 divorces mentioned?
Yep, Mimi Rogers, Nicole Kidman, Katie Holmes. And the material points out that each came with its own share of drama, a lot of tabloid focus.
I remember the headlines. Does the source reference those?
Oh, yeah. It mentions things like headlines about Katie Holmes' escape, the whole Suri Cruise custody battle narrative, discussions of Tom's alleged control issues. That stuff is part of the picture the biography paints based on public accounts and reporting.
So how does the source kind of sum up his personal life, then?
It's interesting. The conclusion it draws is basically that, the full private story, we probably don't know it.
Right.
But the impression given, reading this extensive account, is that his life seems heavily, maybe even overwhelmingly, prioritized around his work. Sometimes maybe at the expense of other things.
Work first. Okay. So bringing this all together, the end of the source, the reflections on his legacy, what's the takeaway?
It poses those big questions.
Yeah.
Is he the last real movie star? Is he some kind of Hollywood rebel on his own path? Or like a real-life action figure because of the stunts?
And Top Gun, Maverick plays a big role in this assessment.
Huge. The biography points to its massive success, that standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah, it was a moment.
Uses it as proof of his continued, undeniable impact on the industry, on audiences globally.
So the argument is, what, that he proves something old school still works?
Kind of, yeah. That in this era of superheroes everywhere, tons of CGI, he keeps showing there's huge value and appeal in, and again, quoting the source here, real stunts, real charisma, and real risk-taking.
Real.
That's the emphasis. And the final point this detailed account really hammers home is, look, whether you love him or you're critical of him or you're somewhere in the middle after hearing all this.
You can't ignore him.
Exactly. He's just too significant a force in movies and culture to dismiss. That's the bottom line from this source.
And that pretty much wraps up our deep dive then. Our exploration of this very expensive 90,000-word account of Tom Cruise.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground based just on what this material presented. From those early challenging years and that rapid rise through the whole Scientology dimension, as the source describes it, his just incredible dedication to stunts, the complexities noted about his personal life.
Right up to how this account views his legacy today. Still going strong.
Undeniably.
It really paints a picture, this source does, of someone living life at an extreme level of intensity, driven by, it seems, very deep personal beliefs and just this unparalleled commitment to the work. So here's something for you, the listener, to think about based on everything we've unpacked from this specific biography today. What aspect of his whole story, as described in this account, maybe that intense dedication or the controversial choices mentioned, or just his ability to stay so relevant in Hollywood as it changes, what part of that do you find the most, surprising? Or the most thought-provoking?
Good question to ponder.
Definitely something to chew on.